Hey guys, welcome back to part 17 of the Rails Let's Build for Ruby and Rails Developer series. This is continuing on with our new form. So we're getting very close on this, I promise. I feel like this has been long overdue to be over with, but we basically, last part, we added payment support. So we're using Stripe under the hood. We're getting payment intents coming back from Stripe API. From that intent, we're getting a client secret that gets passed down to the form itself. So when you click a button and create a charge, the job will go ahead and be created in a pending state. And that's essentially as far as I wanted to get as far as the logic goes. Of course, there's tons to do on validation front on the front end, and then just kind of some UI. So when a payment gets initialized here, I'd like to either hide the form or something just so the user doesn't click the button too much, or something that gets charged twice, all those edge cases. Lots to do. I want to actually add the upsell feature I've been talking about from before. So I mentioned previously that we've basically set one price for our job, and that might fluctuate based on the intents that come back. If you remember, I set it right here, and it's just the base price in our job model. So if I go to job, we'll have that price set right here, $199. And I want to add like 3 more tiers perhaps that essentially give us upsells to the job. What those actually entail, I'll still need to figure out. It might just be like branding based stuff, or highlighting your post, or moving it up the tree in the rendering results when they come back on a typical day, whatever that be. But those things are kind of pending at this point. But what I want to do is focus our attention on that. So there'll be some UI component to this, as well as some functionality of just returning a certain price when you click on a certain option. So let's get going before this takes way too long. So let's do job upsell. I'm going to create a new component. .view and snippet. Forget the key commands. What is it? This snippet. There it is. View. I haven't been using styles here. I just basically use Tailwind. So in our info class, not our info class, our info step, we've got different steps that I'm going to add this to. So why don't I first do that? I'm going to just save this down for now. We can just pass in some text to just say upsells, just so we can confirm it works. And I'll import it here. We'll just return that as is. We need to establish it as a component, so job upsells. I might pluralize that. And here we go. Okay, so now we've got that. We can render it wherever we want. In this case, I think I'll do it just below the pagination. So right here. Like that, and let's just ensure we can return it. That's so weird. Okay, job upsells from right freaking there. Why isn't it working? Okay, I don't know, some caching or something going on. So stupid. So there's the text that we were looking for. Cool. This makes this form even longer, which is kind of a concern, but also I don't care. I think it's fine. When you're creating a job, you're probably there for one reason only, to post a job. So you're fine with maybe making more out of it. So let's go and add the content for the upsells. So I'm going to make this like a 3-up view of content. I think it's just going to have like a basic heading. Let's add some kind of marketing flair around it, maybe. Make your job stand out. To Excel. Pretty bold with it. And maybe some explainer text like upgrade your job listing to stand out from the crowd. Each tier, I'm going to have multiple, unlocks more potential. Something like that. Cool. So we've got that going on. Right on. And maybe I'll have like an offset class that's like a border top and margin top of something. And padding top. Okay. So below that we'll have like a grid layout maybe. So grid calls 3, gap 10. And let's see, how can we do this? I'm gonna do, it's gonna be kind of a weird thing, like I'm gonna have inputs that are gonna be radio options. So we're gonna say type radio, and we'll give it a certain ID. So ID, oops, upsell, good. I think I'm gonna call it good, better, and great, or something like that, like car wash, like I said in the last video. So and then we could say like checked equals, we're going to use view to kind of hook into this, store.form.job.upsell type equals good, something like that. I think that's what I'm doing in the store.index. Let's look what we got. Upsell type, yeah, there we go. So from form, job, and then into that object. So that's why I had to chain it so much. And then initially this is going to be hidden because this is just to validate that that's checked. We'll say value is good. And around that we'll have a label that's going to basically be the clickable element. So it's going to be label for upsell good. And inside that we'll do some classes. Make sure it's a block full. And then I want the, since it's going to be a grid of 3 up items, I want them to be, we'll just do a div, repeat that down. So this will be 2, 3. And we could start there. I'll just do 1 here. Let's see if we got something. There we go. So now it's essentially an input, but it's not doing anything just yet. Okay. So we need to make this look like clickable element. So let's do that next. Added some padding. Rounded. Cursor. Pointer. Okay. There we go. I want to do large. And then like when we hover, maybe something fancier. So hover, border black, and let's give it a border transparent for starters. So we go this way. It's not doing anything. Why not? There we go. And we can make that a little more fluid with like transition duration 300 or so. Okay, so here we're gonna have like the great or good text. Let's make it fancy looking. So text small, italic, font bold, text red, 100, uppercase, pointer, events, none, select none, Basically, I don't want you to click that thing, but I do want it to look good there. Maybe we'll do text center on this whole thing. Okay. I might make this less, so just do 6 around. Nice. So that's the highlight part, and then below that we can have the price. So span, it's going to be kind of a huge ass. Number. So letting tight pointer events none. Select none there as well, because we just want the input or the label to be selectable. Like everything else will get in the way otherwise. So inside that, I'm going to add, there's this actual HTML element, you can add superset kind of thing, superscript. Doesn't really do much, but it just allows you to make a smaller text. Pointer events none, select none. That's going to have the $sign since we're going to use USD. And then in here, I'm going to put, maybe I'll add a data attribute on this. Let's set it in the store actually. So store, not even in the form. Or yeah, let's put it in the form. Let's say upsell good price. Let's do upsell pricing object good. So this is an addition to the 199. So let's start with like great something like that. I don't know. But now we have access to that in the store, so we could just say store dot upsell. It's in the form still. Form dot upsell pricing dot good. Let's see how that's looking. 49. And maybe we'll add like plus so it's kind of clearer. So plus. Whoa, it's huge. Let's make this one tiny too. Okay. This might need to be yeah. Wow, that worked way too well. Didn't expect that to work. Let's since that's flexing now, let's do a div here just to, I think this might help. Surround that. Shoot center, please. No? Okay, let's do it this way then. Flex justify center. There we go. The plus sign we can add, maybe I'll make that base and font normal so it's not so bold. Okay. I'll make this black. I'll make it bold as hell. Nice, okay. And then below that will be like what you're getting for that maybe. So unordered list essentially. So let's do that. I really don't know what I'm gonna, advertise this as yet. I think that'll be a good afterthought. Then let's just add like some dummy stuff. So I'm gonna eventually add like icons here, so it's like signifies what you get. So highlight your listing, maybe. Display your company logo. Like I'm gonna put, I think I'm gonna put like most of these on each, and then cross out the ones you can get or can't get, if that makes sense. Cool. So that's kind of just basically be duplicated as we go, but that's essentially the gist that I wanted to get across there. I might make this a little smaller. Nice. Okay, so basically repeating this step across the board and changing content. This will be better. And do that once more. I need to change that checked attribute real quick. What did I call it here? Great. I'm going to put best. Nice. Cool. So I might, instead of, what should I do here? I think transparent's a little too transparent. Border gray 300. How does that look? Yeah, I like that more, I think. Oops. Oh, I don't want to close. All right, cool. So that's a good start. Maybe I'll change the color of like better to something different, and then something like so. I don't know. And maybe I'll just instead of the text being different, maybe the background will be so. Let me get kind of cool looking. Cool. And then basically want to have one checked by default, and I'm going to add one more that's going to be like opt out, I think. So at the bottom, after the grid, I think I'll make it kind of faint. Obviously, I want you to pay me more money, but it's okay if you don't. So instead, we'll do like a flexed center. Just add like another checkbox down here of type radio again. Change IDs on these. Nope, I need to do that. Best, 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 better, better, better. There we go. This will be upsell none. Checked. We'll check if the store.form.job.upsell type equates to no thanks is what I'm gonna call that one, which is kind of a stupid name. I should make that more easy to identify for myself, but that's okay. Equals no thanks. And the label is gonna be pretty basic here. I'm not going to hide that one, so it'll just be this basic one down here. We just need to say no thanks. Should turn, there we go. Let's offset it a bit, so margin top maybe 10. Nice. Okay, cool. Now we're gonna do inputs. Radio inputs are kind of tricky, but I'm gonna basically borrow from what we did earlier with some local storage stuff, and just kind of build everything into a method. So each label is gonna have a method on it on click. So at click we'll call set upsell type, and I'm gonna pass the target. So let's do that for each label. All right, now we're going to add that method. Set upsell type. Let's pass in the target that we're getting back. And what's the parent of this? The parent is job form. So we're basically doing this method again. So borrowing this that action, since we have that in our action now, we can update the upsell type is going to be target control value. So control is a method. Let me show you. I'll just show you. Console.log target. So when you change, essentially change one of these inputs, on it is a control element. So when, this is why I love Firefox. Like Chrome doesn't do this shit. If you click on it and you go in through, and you can see there's a control attribute, and in it is actually the input that if you use the for attribute on your actual HTML, which you should totally do. I don't know why some people don't add that. It's like accessible and makes the form and everything valid. It returns that, which is the control element for the label, which is kind of built into HTML. It allows you almost to have a button built in without any CSS. Anyway, the value of the control is what we're going for, and that's why I've added hard-coded values to the inputs. So scroll way down on the value. If I can find it, it's going to say good, which is what we're looking for. So that's going to map to if our conditionals checks this stuff, we're going to set the control value, or essentially update the store to have the upsell type of that. So essentially, let's try it out. Let's see if our store updates. So we can open the view console, go to the root, and on the job we're going to see a upsell type of undefined. But if I click one, it's going to update, as you can see, which is what we want. Now the trick is getting this to stay persisted and whatnot. So that's where all this is going to come into play. And you notice when I click on these, nothing with the price changes, and that's kind of the big catch of this, and why it's going to be a little more involved than the last bits, because when this clicks, I want to update the price, but to update the price I need to basically ask Stripe for a new client secret token, so that price on the server can update securely instead of just doing it inline in the UI, which would be terrible for security's sake. So all that's to say, we're going to need to create a Axios response here and submit some data to our server that updates everything in real time. So let's do that now. What I want to do is, when this is set, I'm going to call another method, this .set job price intent, and we're going to again pass the value through. So control.value, and below let's create that method. Okay, so we need to pass the value through here as well. So value is coming right here, which will essentially be a string. And then we're going to do, I need to import Axios again to this app. Okay, and we can just call Axios and then pass in an object of options. So our URL is going to be intents since we've added that from the past video. And it's going to be a method of post. We'll pass in some data. I'm going to create that in a second to data. Let's create that up here. So let's see. Const data is going to be a new form data object. And we're just going to append upsell type. Now that's how it's saved in the database. Not like this. And we'll pass the value. Okay. Method post, that's the data. Essentially, we just appended this to it, so the value is going to carry over and be posted to intents. And I guess we could accept. Let's see if this works without it. I think I've set some defaults elsewhere, but we'll see what happens. Then response callback will be this dot store dot form dot job dot, is it on the job? It's on the form. Payment intent client secret equals response dot data dot client secret. Now we're repeating this from another spot, so this could be extracted, but I think 1 or 2 times doesn't hurt my feelings. And then we want to update the form price to be response.data.amount divided by 100. It's going to come back as cents. And then we'll just say catch error. Okay. So we've got some work to do on the controller side of the Rails app now, though. So since those prices are going to fluctuate, we kind of need to set them to be independent of each other in a case statement. So what I want to do is first set all of our prices. So we got base, and we could say good job price equals base job price plus, I think, 49. And then great job price equals base job price plus 69. And then that's actually 149. Then we need what was it? Better. All right. Now we could say base good better and then great okay. That gives us the ability to use it in our controller, which is where I'm heading next. So we got our single price here, which works just fine, but we want to actually append a few other options. So in this case, I'm going to use, when we hit this, we're going to go back and change, instead of this, we're going to say a case statement. So case, and I'm going to comment this out for now. Intent amount is going to vary. So we're going to say case params, which is going to come back in the post request. If you recall, in our upsells post, we're passing the upsell type. So we're going to look for that in the response. So it's going to look like upsell type in Rails like this. And then we can either normalize it here, like parameterize. I will do that actually, parameterize. And instead of what we just added here, trying to think, where is our upsell types? Let's go back to add that actually. So upsell types, I didn't add this yet. Another hash, and we could say no thanks. That's where the parameterized comes back as. So we'll have that as this instead of like the actual string value. Great, or good, excuse me. Better. And then great. Pretty simple. The no thanks is going to have a space, but if we call parameterize on it like we did here, it should come back as that lowercase and then hyphenated. Hopefully. We'll find out. Okay, so we got the case that starts there. We need the when. We could say job upsell types is no thanks. Basically just go down the list. Good. I'll get the return statements in this when I'm done here. Better. Great. Okay, so when it's no thanks, we're going to return job pricing base times 100. Then instead of this, I'm going to just do, I'm repeating myself. I'm going to do it on down here. So we'll do that better, and then we'll say great job pricing. I cannot type pricing better or great end, or we could say just else end. Okay, and then we'll take that intent variable and just multiply the same value it returns as times 100 to get the cents. So that's what Stripe expects is in cents. So yeah, so if we get our case params, upsell type parameterized. So why don't I binding pry right here, and I'll just kind of stop everything from occurring and see what we get, assuming we can actually make this post request. Looks like I've got an up. Let's do it up here. All right, so here you access property target controls undefined. What does that actually mean? I think it's, let's double check what the target is. Debugging stuff here. Why are we still getting errors? It'd be great to know what error this is actually giving me. Is it in my console? It says it's compiled. Let me recompile everything. Weird. All right, let's try to click one of these, see what comes back. If it will load. Why is that? Okay, I think I know why. So it's, I need to add pointer events none on that too. On this. See if this works still. I think that might actually throw it off if I do that one. Here. There we go. So now I got upsell good, which is good. That's what we want. Not sure why it looks like that though. Okay, so I think that should do the trick then. So if we undo the commenting, see how we go about. Why isn't, oh, we need to get proper spelling for one. Okay, click that. It's still doing that though. Did we get post intents controller as HTML? It shouldn't be as HTML though. When I'm posting, I click this. I don't see any post request. Why? Interesting. It's a GET request, right? So I'm getting something back when I hit that. So parameterize, did I spell that wrong? It's nil, yeah, because it should be in the params. That's interesting that it's not. What am I missing here? Form data, did I spell everything right? Methods, form data, upsell type. Let's try this. It's headers. I know you could set this globally, I just have not, and I really need to. I kind of forget how to do that, like on the whole view component, or app I mean. But we need this format type for Rails to kind of recognize what's coming on board. think that might be the issue. So we need to pass the headers. So it's accepting JSON data. The content type is going to be in the form URL encoded since we're using this form data attribute. So I want to see if that changes anything. Freaking app is like dying. Okay, Rails server. I need to update Rails too. I will do that at some point soon. Show you guys how I do it. Okay, let's clear all this out. Just try once more. Post intents. Got a 200. That's good. Response is payment intent. And we get our client secret, which means the price did change. That's good. This one isn't working. So best. I think it's because I called it best and it should be great. So let's go and make sure that's. Why does it still say? Okay, best should be great, right? Am I confusing myself? Yes, I am. Great, okay. So let's change this to great. Great. Wow, okay. Oh, nothing's working. That's good. Can access property target control is null. Let's see what's going on when I click this. This is really aggravating. Instead of going this, I'm just going to do console.log target. It's going to give me back HTML stuff that doesn't really make sense. I'm going to get rid of these for now. Label, 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 label. Okay. That one's not great. What's happening with that one? Upsell type. Oh. Right? Why would it be null? Oh. Typos are my enemy, I swear. Still doing it. Can't access property value. Target control is null. Yet it's coming back, right? No, it's null. Why is it null? I think it might just be. There we go, okay. So you notice when I first load this page, it goes back and gets me a 500 because it doesn't have basically a params when I first load this page. So we need to accommodate for that as well. That's kind of tricky. I'm not exactly sure what I would do there. So I think instead here on, we've got that pretty close. So let's verify first this comes back. Don't worry about this error at the moment. No thanks goes to base. This goes to 248, 268. 348. Perfect. So that's working. Essentially what I wanted to do. So now the price on the global is updating, and we have it here set to charge that amount. Right on. So cool. But I need to figure out the initialize. So when you first land on this page, I want to basically have something selected, and I think that's what's next. So let's do that real quick on the main job form. I think is where it's going to happen. We're going to have intents here, and we do this the client secret Tango Wango Tango, but then we need to set the price too. So let's do that. So we need essentially, how should we do this? I need to kind of do this form data thing again. So const data equals new form data dot append upsell type again. Could probably make this a function to live elsewhere, but this dot store dot form dot job dot upsell type, and then we need to post with the data this time, essentially just what we did elsewhere. And I'll do the same headers thing here. If you see me repeating myself, it's just because we can always go back and refactor. I don't really, sometimes refactoring too early creates more harm than good, or extraction for that case. Everyone says do it, you should totally do this, but honestly you can wait. Make it work first is my philosophy. So teach his own though. All right, and then we got our client secret. Now we need to do basically the same thing. So this dot store job price equates to response dot data dot amount divided by 100. And amount's going to come back in that format because it's part of the intent. So yeah, I think now we won't get such an error when we first load this. And it saves the current state too. So if it's selected, if we go to our price and say which upsell is selected, it's going to give us great, since that's where we last left off. Could be wrong, but let's go back, post a job. Any errors here? Not so far. Cool. Right on. Okay. So let's do, there's a lot going on there, a lot to unpack. If you haven't seen any of these videos up until now, I've done local storage, so I'm saving some of the storage locally. So when you come back to the form, everything's kind of in place still. We've got the base price set, and that will update as you do stuff, and that's kind of by design. So we're combining local storage with Ajax with Rails as the backend, so it's a clusterfuck to be quite honest. So let's go back to the UI, and I would like to show which one's obviously active when we have it active. So I need to update the checked state for that to be that way. And I don't know, maybe I can do that in just like a style sheet instead of inline. So because we're doing a class, I guess we could do this. Border. Well, okay, here. We'll do it here. So we could say class, bind the class to some Tailwind classes. So border black, BG gray, maybe 100, just to give it a little signifier. And then we could pass essentially this back to it. It's gonna be kind of wonky. Like that. that. Close the quotes, so something like that I think might work. And that needs to be on the label element. I think I have something off here though. My highlighter, code highlighter, yeah, syntax. Why is that? I need to extract this into a method, I think. Let's just do that entirely. So let's say set active upsell, pass in good. I guess this could be computed. Computed properties tend to return something. So in this case, it'll return maybe this will work. I'm not sure if this will work. Maybe it should be a method. We'll find out. Let's set, what did I call it? Set active something. Yeah. Let's see, this dot store upsell. Let's see, form dot job dot upsell type equals upsell type return. Okay, we're still going to get errors because I have that other one. So let's pass this down to better, and then great. I don't know if this will work for computed or not. It might need to be a method. Yeah. Okay. Let's make it a method. What? In here, I guess. Well, that's one thing. That's not right. So computed needs to go out here. Let's try this again. Get rid of this. Okay, this is not defined. What? Why am I jQuery or some bullshit? And then store needs to be there. Come on. Okay, I'm going to try it as a method. Cool, that's actually working, I think, because that's on better. Our border isn't working though, so border black. Does it have border? It totally does. Why doesn't it? I guess it's not overriding the other one because it's got border black. Okay, let's just do else return border gray 300 BG white, and then we'll remove those classes from the label. So instead of BG white and border gray, good to go there. And one here. Okay. And last one. Cool. So there's our active candidate. We can make that a lot more pronounced if it is like the one. But if we go back, that's the perfect one. That one's good. This one I'm going to leave default because it's whatever. But this will give us some inclination that that's the one you've chosen. Here's the final price. It carries through since we're using local storage, and just everything's up to spec with that. I'll validate all the payment and stuff and everything in the next video, but I think next I want to add validation and get some, backend validation going on as well, and just make sure we've got the right requirements in terms of like fields and whatnot, and just make sure the data we're accepting is valid and all those fun intricate details of creating a web app in 2021. So hopefully you guys are enjoying this. I'm sorry if it's so long-winded, but that's kind of the goal. It's basically a day in the life with me building this app, but we're getting very close to just basically having the onboarding experience for getting jobs added to the app if you are a customer of mine in this case. So you'll be paying to add a job to the job board. Next up, I want to definitely work on the community side of it and just have some maybe profile sides of the equation for Rails devs, and then get this thing out there, at least an MVP up in the wild. So I look forward to that, and it's approaching. So we'll get there soon. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one.